Howdy, my name is John Bush. This is Gerald Pope. Tonight we have the honor of being with Chef Tai, and he's somebody that I've been lucky enough to call my friend for over 25 years now. He's an American success story. He's an Aggie. He's an entrepreneur. Many of the things that we highly admire at Extraco Bank, especially here in our market. But he's had the honor of cooking for multiple presidents, other elected officials, celebrities. I know Tony Bennett and others. He's into fast cars. He's a fantastic chef. He's had multiple restaurants here in town. Currently has three, and those are Urban Table, Salt, and Paulo's, correct? Yeah. You may know him. He did win America's Favorite Food Truck on the Food Network. And he's also been on ESPN Game Day serving food to Kirk Herbstreit in the game day crew. Yeah. So if you would, please welcome Chef Tai Lee. He's going to help you walk through a beautiful meal tonight.
Well, howdy. Good evening. I'm Chef Tai. Thank you so much for having me here. What a great privilege to be with you guys here and cooking for the families of Extraco Bank. Today we're going to do something really simple, something that people can purchase from the local HEB or Albertsons, any supermarket. So even though I'm creating a dish, but I created this dish where anyone actually can do this and follow along. So there's nothing complicated, nothing challenging about this. We're going to do basically a nice chopped salad, and then we're going to do a steak dinner utilizing a tenderloin, and then we're going to do little bluebell ice cream with a wine poached cherry. Now, there are certain things that we need to do in order to get this thing going as smooth as possible. So I'm going to ask you, if you're at the home right now following through, I want you to set your oven at 375-degree convection if you like to have your steak more than rare. So the way we're going to try to do the cooking today is we're going to do the pan roasting of the tenderloin. And most of that will be actually just cooked right on the pan. And it will take about 14 minutes from beginning to the end. But if you do want to have your steak medium, then I suggest that you're going to drop the steak into the oven for about additional 6 minutes. And if you want it any further along, stop watch it. I'm not cooking for you. Just kidding. Just kidding. But if you do want to get to the well done, obviously the steak's going to have to stay in the oven a little bit longer, say about 15 minutes. Now, if your oven does have a warming drawer feature, I do also suggest that you turn that on because we are going to rest the steak there while we're finishing plating the dish. So one of the things that we have to do, if we're cooking pasta, what do we need to do?
Start the water.
Start the water, exactly. So the dessert that we're going to do, wine poached cherry, that takes the longest time, matter of fact, because we have to bring the broth up to the temp, and we have to put the cherry, and then we have to steep it, in the hot liquid. So we're going to start doing that first, have that working on the back while we're working on the salad and the steak. So let's dive into it without further ado. So the ingredients that we're looking at here today, we're going to be combining a little bit of clove, allspice, and then cinnamon stick. And we're going to have a lemon zest, and we're going to have some sugar and a honey and some vanilla extract, and of course red wine. So we have a little pan or a pot, and we're going to pour some wine. And any wine actually could do, Pinot Noir or Cabernet. It really wouldn't matter. Only difference is after you cook the sauce, you do have to taste it and have to make some adjustment on it. Just like anything that we cook, you can follow the recipe. However, you do have to make an adjustment. So typically on a recipe book, you'll say salt to taste. Well, because everybody do have a different preference and everybody do have a different tolerance on certain things. So just wanted you to know that's how we do things. All right, and a whole lot of honey.
Oh, shit.
All right, so make sure the lemons are washed. Everything was already pre-washed before your arrival. So we're just gonna zest a little bit of a lemon. It gives a little bit of tartness. And again, we added sugar and honey, as you saw.
Right.
So the tartness, the tannin from the wine and a lemon will be countered by that sweetness. So we're just trying to have a nice all-around flavor. So once this liquid is combined, we're going to bring it to boil. It won't take too long. Once that comes to the boil, what we'll do is we'll actually sift it out using a mash strainer and then bring the liquid back because we do want that liquid to get some of that infusion of allspice and all these ingredient that goes in. Once they start to come to boil, you'll get the full melding of flavor. But after a certain point, lemon rind will get overly bitter. So once we bring it to the boil, just to bring the flavor fused together, we extract them out. So now we're just having this nice broth of wine, and then the cherry goes in there, and then we're gonna start steeping it. And once that's on the stove, we're gonna move on to the salad part. But there's a certain things that has a flavor affinity, and a cherry, cinnamon, avocado and strawberry, believe it or not, they have a flavor affinity that really works well together. So now they came to a nice rolling boil. And what we'll do is I'm going to get these items.
So you strain the berries and the cinnamon stick,
Yep. And you'll see
the cloves.
right there, clove and cinnamon sticks, all that stuff.
One thing we talked about earlier about how you have those ingredients are fresh and then grind them or something, and it's better than the powders you buy in the store.
Right,
You can do
exactly.
that.
If you can. But if you can't, it's okay.
Okay.
All right, now we return the liquid back to the pot. Oops. And we're gonna put these frozen pitted cherry, also available at any of your local
Okay.
supermarket. I checked 3 different supermarket and all 3 of them had it. So anyway, you're gonna basically put these back in there.
Those are pretty much frozen year round, right?
They are indeed. So now if it is in season, yes, it'll be wonderful, but it is very difficult to fit a
I've
cherry.
cherries before, it takes forever.
So if you can see this, it's a hot liquid, cherries in there, and we're just gonna run this on a very low simmer just to bring the cherry to a certain temperature. And once that's done, we're gonna actually chill it because we don't want this too hot when we're serving dessert.
So
So
coagulate a little bit. When you
it will, yeah. So what we'll do is we'll put that on a low simmer and let it come to the temperature. Now we're gonna move on to the next course, okay? So to make this dressing, now there's a variety of dressings out there, balsamic dressing, there's sweet onion dressing. But I always had a fascination with the Dijon mustard, that tangy tartness, and the sweet bouquet of red wine vinegar. So we decided to make a simple vinaigrette. It's an emulsified vinaigrette. So the ingredient is red wine vinegar and this oil. Can you guess what that is?
Olive oil. Oh, no, probably avocado.
Grapeseed oil.
Rapeseed.
Grapeseed oil. So it has a really pretty green tint on it. Dijon, and then we got some water, and I got some salt and pepper and a little bit of sugar. Now the sugar is going to be added based on how tart the vinegar is. Every brand makes their red wine vinegar differently.
Yeah.
I have not bought this particular brand from HEB before, so I don't know.
You need a taste to go.
So once I figure it out, I may need to add some. Some brands are very sweet bouquet right out of the bottle. You don't need to add any of it. But if it's really tart, pucker you up a little bit, then you're gonna have to counter the tartness with the sweetness. So anyway, so we're gonna have a little bit of the wine going into the bowl. And when you're dealing with the vinegar and dealing with anything acidic, I do recommend that you do things on a stainless steel bowl and also on a glass, just so you don't have any chemical reaction on it. Copper is terrible
Yeah.
to go with it. And then of course, you don't want aluminum going with the vinegar either. It will actually strip clean that aluminum pan with the vinegar. So if you have a aluminum pot or pan that is kind of dirty, actually put a vinegar, a little bit of baking soda and boil it. It will actually get cleaned really good. All right. And then we're going to add a little bit of mustard. The recipe calls for 4 tablespoons for half order, half batch, and of course 8 tablespoons for full batch. Today we're just going to do half batch right here with you guys.
Now, I know that the meal we're making tonight is designed to serve two.
2 to 4,
If
yeah.
we were gonna do, if you needed to increase it, you just double.
Yeah.
or-
Simple. Now the vinaigrette, it's plenty for 6 people, I think. But you can't really make too little vinaigrette. You could always have enough vinaigrette and you can utilize it next time. Absolutely. It doesn't go bad. You will see the separation of the water and vinegar, and the oil. All you gotta do is just shake it. Again, it's an emulsified vinaigrette. So even though I am shaking it right now, right before the service, it could break. No problem. Just gotta, again, stir it again. So I'm just stirring it, and as you can see, it starts to actually coagulate and emulsify together. You could utilize a stick blender, opposed to the actual whisk, but why not?
Gerald's kind of like Tim from Tool Time. He likes to use mechanical with more power. So he might use the immersion blender. I don't know.
Okay, so it has a pretty good tartness on it. So I'll add some sugar and a little pinch of a salt and pepper. That was all. Now, once it's combined with a salad and a vegetable and a cheese, it mellows out. So you have to think about the final utilization of the dressing as well, what that will be going with. And you got to have some amount of a saltiness and a tartness just to meet that ingredient, because if you don't, final product will be bland. So there will be a dressing right there. Now let's work on the actual salad. Gerald, could you bring me that basket of, the bowl of a salad and a bowl of onion, cheese, and a cucumber. All right, so at a market, you can readily find these, what they call spring veggie, spring mix. You can use anything. If you want to use a romaine, if you want to use a frise lettuce, I'm not judging. It's your favorite type of a salad. Anything can go. This one was on sale, so I got it. And it looked really good. It looked really nice.
That's color to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Why not have fun with it? Now, there is a little mini cucumber. Don't get those cheap, big
long,
cucumber.
they might be taste.
There's no taste, and there's a seed in the middle, which I hate. So I always try to get a little mini baby cucumber, or if they don't have it, then they at least should have English cucumber, which will be a little bit larger, but still considerably smaller than the American
But without
cucumber.
the bitterness.
Oh, absolutely. And little small radish just for color and a bite. And then little small peppers. And of course, the onion and a little feta cheese. So what we'll do is we'll slice these up and then we're going to toss it together. And then right at the last moment, we'll, dress it. You're not going to dress it right away. But, a lot of people say, oh, I don't know if I should use a knife to cut the cucumber. Yeah, I understand. People have a certain, fear about, oh, I don't know if I should cut the items with my hand. And I understand. I definitely have a fear whenever I was first learning. So is it a bad thing to use a mandolin? No, it's not. We're trying to, help you create a dinner with your family without a hassle. So you can do this using a mandolin. I mean, just easy as that. No.
And when you're using
Effort.
the mandolin, you do want to be careful not to get too close to
True.
Yeah,
Of
the
course,
blade, right?
they do have a little
A
guard.
little larger.
They do have it. They do have it. But you just got to pay attention. Can we do slicing of pepper on a mandolin? Now, you could, but try not to actually. I'll tell you why. Because, well, yeah, exactly. There's a seed in it. So, one of those things that I just try to figure it out. I say, okay, let's split this sucker up. And there's a seed there. So do I really want to go through it? Probably not. So we'll just slice the innards, as we call it, out. And I think red and yellow will be a good color combination today. All right, so I put first layer of the salad with the little side ingredient, and then I'm not gonna put the cheese on it actually until the very last, but I'll just do another layer. This way we have an even amount of the vegetable and a salad when you're actually,
That's really smart. That way you don't have to toss the whole.
right. You don't want to toss it and make it upside down. Now, you might say, well, what do you do with the cheese? Well, the problem is the cheese has a lot of weight on it, and it actually starts to make it sinks, and it also pulls some of the moisture out of the vegetable and a salad as well. So we don't always want them right away. We will typically put that very last. So I'll have it. That's why it's on a separate bowl.
That's pretty. There's lots of different
Lots of
colors
color.
and everything.
And I figured when it looks good, people will be a little bit more inclined to, eat it. That's similar story with my family, with my children. They're young age, 9 and 6, and they're like, "Ooh, I don't know if I like it," because they judge it based on how it looks.
Yep.
Right. So we try to make it fun, and we try to make it, more appealing to them. And it seems like you have a better reception toward the dish. So they used to not eat salad because the salad that they saw somewhere else wasn't as pretty. So I said, well, let's make it pretty. And then now they're a lot more
And then you
receptive.
find
of
the
it.
flavor, nice twice.
All right, so before we move on to the actual cooking part, let's do a little bit of trimming. So we have asparagus and tomato, which will actually go into the hot pan after we cook the steak. So the whole idea is nobody wants to do dish. I mean, you got little children. If they want to help out, that's great. But my kids don't want to wash dish as much either. So what I'm trying to do is let's try to cook this entire thing in a one pot or one pan. So we're gonna do it in phases. We'll cook the steak, and then we're gonna let the steak rest. While the steak is resting, we're going to cook the vegetable. But again, mise en place, how to get everything ready. As you can see, this asparagus, typically this is how you get them at the store, on a bushels. And you'll see the bottom part is typically white, or sometimes it's a purple tint or a little red tint on it. These are really hard part, and has a little bit more bitter flavor on it. So one way is, we
Very
will.
fibrous too.
Right, exactly. If you look, it's almost like celery, like, skin coming out on it. So one way is to actually use a potato peeler to peel these out. It's tedious. So what I do is I just cut it off. Simple as that. So, you could do it, just straight cut, but I'm just doing a little bias cut. Why not? So,
Now, the other key is having a sharp knife.
yes, you have to. And contrary to popular belief, sharp knife actually is safer for you than a dull knife, because I'm putting very little effort to slice it. If I don't have a sharp knife, I'll be working on it. And as I'm forcing into it, I have a higher chance of actually injuring myself. So that is one of the key things. And whenever I was first learning how to cook, I was in a Japanese restaurant. That's where I actually did my apprenticeship. And I washed rice for 6 months, and that's all I did, and just sharpening knife. Anyway, so
Everybody's watching.
the vegetables right there, and you might ask what the garlic and thyme is here. Now, the garlic and thyme will be added into the steak about halfway through, just to provide additional aromatic and a flavor into it, and it will go along with the butter.
Well,
So
we're gonna wait to see how you peel it, garlic.
Oh, no, I won't actually peel it.
Okay.
I'll be just cutting it right in half, and I'll actually put the entire garlic in there, because it's just about getting the flavor out. And the skin and a whole clove, when you put it in there together, it actually works it up pretty nice. As far as the steak goes, very, very straightforward. We're gonna put salt, pepper, and a little bit of Dijon mustard, again, for additional flavor on it. Now, before I get onto it, I'm gonna ask you to have the pan on medium-high heat while I'm preparing this. It takes a couple minutes for the pan to get to the right temperature. So while I'm doing this, I'm gonna have the pan going, and my oven is at 375. And again, if you want your steak to be more than rare plus, you're gonna have to put it in this, in the oven. but that's okay. I'm not judging. But here, we're gonna start with the salt. And as you can see, it's a lot more than you might think. The reason is there is the thickness that we have to deal with. So if we were to just put so it's just not going to season properly. So don't be too shy. Now I don't want anybody suffering hypertension or things like that. But we are eating red meat after all. Just a nice coarse sea salt. I don't use iodized salt. It's just too fine, and then you actually tend to over salt because you grab too much. Right. So just again, whole black peppercorn. And always, fresh ground black peppercorn tastes so much better than powdered one. Yeah.
Now, I know on the recipe, we're cooking tenderloin here, but the recipe that was sent out, I think sirloin was
You could
offered
do.
as an option.
Yes, it is an option for two reasons, obviously. One, availability. Tenderloin is not always at the supermarket. Like, matter of fact, I got the last 2 packs that they had at HEB, so I kind of got lucky out. I could get those. So sirloin will be a good substitute for it. It is also another very similarly lean cut of meat. So, compared to ribeye, it is a lot leaner. So if I'm gonna have a nice tender steak that is somewhat lean, okay, this will be the one of those things. But I will add enough butter and a mustard to make that steak go into sort of the next dimension. So now we got the salt and pepper, and we're gonna put just small amount of can you say that with a little British accent?
Pardon me, do you have any grape
Poupon. Okay, so the way I'm gonna do it is now, oh, there's a lot of mustard. No, not really, because I'm gonna dab some around. So everybody have a little bit of a mustard on top and bottom, as you can see. And then I'll just rub it around, just on the top and bottom. And they are ready to go. Now, on the pan, one of the things that we have to be cautious is sometimes we just don't get the pan hot enough. If the pan is not hot, it will not sear the meat. If the meat doesn't get seared, it defeats the whole purpose of cooking the steak on a pan, right? So one of the things that we do to test it out is if I can put my hand 2 inches above the pan for 5 seconds or longer or not. If I can leave my hand above the pan for longer than 5 seconds, it's not ready. In this case, it's not ready yet.
Okay, so nothing in the pan, no oil or anything?
Not yet, not yet. So you don't want to have an oil there and then heat it up. You want to have a hot pan, and then you'll put a little, exactly, you'll put a little dash of oil. All right, so we're going to drop the steak. You hear that sizzle. You got to get that sizzle. If you don't, something ain't right. All right, so one of the important thing is you got to let the pan do the work. Don't try to touch the steak, try to turn it around. So one of the key trick is actually look at the wall of the steak and see when to turn. So if we look, there's a wall and that is red, just like the normal beef color. But at one point, you're gonna start to see that color turn opaque. Okay. So when that wall, the bottom edge starts to turn light brown and opaque, that's when you know bottom is nice and golden brown. That's when you're gonna actually do the detaching and flip the steak. Until then, I'm just gonna let the pan do the work. And it's getting there. As you can see, right at the edge, right here, you start to see that color turning. So I know, yeah, so it will actually detach the meat. If I were to try to turn the meat earlier, it'll stick. So don't let that happen. So let the pan do the work. I like to be lazy about it. So I'll let the pan do the work and just slosh the oil just a little bit around. And like I said, right here, turns opaque. Nice browning. Flip it. And then I'm gonna let the pan do the work again. So I'll just walk away from it. Let's talk about this. So you could do a starch with your steak. Like, you don't have to. It's just a completely personal preference on it. So when I do a steak, I typically try to stay away from the starchy, side dish on it because I want to have more vegetable because we just simply don't eat enough vegetable.
How much need to not eat? Sorry.
Well, true. So
That's
I'm one of
you
those.
and me.
No, I mean, I eat too much rice, so I do have to cut it back. So we're gonna just have a nice asparagus and a cherry tomato. And then, of course, these garlic and a thyme will go into the steak part. But, this entire process takes no time to, create. If you have a thinner steak, this one is quite thick, it's about 2 inch thick. If you have a thinner steak, your cook time, exponentially get reduced. Yeah, I mean, literally, you get about 3 minutes on one side, you flip to the other side for 3 minutes, you're done. You literally, walk away really easy. But today we're having a little bit of a thicker cut on it, so it will take a little bit longer. Be patient about it because it will be worth it. So if you look again, you'll see another opaque edge on the other side, just like that. Now what you'll do is that you're gonna stand them up.
We're gonna sear it on all.
Sear the side, exactly. Flip, and you can see a nice browning right there.
Yeah.
And again, that's what we really want to have on a meat. Absolutely. We call that Maillard effect. All right, so we are about getting there. So, there it is. So when I cook the other remaining edge, that's when we're gonna put the butter and we're gonna put the garlic and a thyme and we're gonna start baste it. Okay. So now we're gonna put some butter. All right. So once we put the butter and the butter's actually melted, this is where you're gonna actually put the flame down to low.
You need the garlic and thyme.
I will. Yeah, I will. I gotta let the butter melt. But reason I cut the flame down is because the butter also have a very low, smoke point. So we don't want the butter smoke and burn. So we want the butter melt, but we don't want butter burn. So that was just one of the reasons why we cut it out. And the pan itself is already hot. So when I add all these on it, it won't matter. Yeah, because we're not gonna eat that garlic. It's just gonna be there. All right, so I add some thyme.
Oh, you smell that.
So as you can see, the butter and a thyme and a garlic, they're getting infused. So as they get infused, the butter's gonna take some of that flavor out. And then what I'll do is I'll start basting these butter right on the steak. But I'm letting the garlic and the thyme go a little bit longer. Now the cherry, we gotta do something about it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this pan.
And you set the pan right in there.
Yep, right there. And so we're going to let the steak rest.
You just transfer that to a
Yep.
baking sheet or cooking
Yes,
sheet,
it's a baking sheet.
something that would catch the grease and butter, I assume.
Yep, just, we're just gonna let the meat and the herb just rest. And we'll just,
I wish y'all could smell this. The camera crews basically, they're agreeing with me.
all right. So like I promised, it will be a one pot, right? So I'm just gonna come up here. I'll do a little quick wipe. Don't need a whole lot. So we just did a basic scraping. And this is, again, just to show how easy it can be done without going too complicated on the cleaning part. All right, so the pan was already hot to start with. So it won't take that much longer to actually bring the pan up to the temperature. So matter of fact, pan is hot.
Okay.
So I'll add a little bit more oil.
Oh, so we got a question. It said,
Yes.
could you have used rosemary instead of thyme?
Oh, absolutely. You could use a rosemary if you wanted. You could use oregano if you wanted. Absolutely. I just chose thyme because it was available.
Very good.
And when I use rosemary, I actually like to do it on a grill. I'll put the rosemary on the grill, let that catch fire, and then I put the steak right on top of it. So that's, another fun way to do it. Too bad my rosemary bush died from the last ice storm.
Everybody had to plant a rosemary bush, people have plenty of rosemary. It's gonna freeze and stuff.
And snow got it going nice.
Absolutely. So again, you gotta hear that sizzle. If you don't hear the sizzle, we did something wrong.
Now, did you add any oil or butter?
Yeah, I did. I did oil. Add a little bit of grapeseed oil, and then I'm gonna add some pepper and a salt. Like it. So asparagus will take longer to cook than a tomato. Hence, we put the asparagus first. Right. This one won't take that much longer. So I'm gonna let the asparagus cook just a little bit longer, and then I'll add the tomato and then bring it up to the pan. And that's when we're gonna clear out, and we're gonna do a quick plating on it at the top.
Very good.
Yeah, so this is what I'm looking at, just nice deep green color. And have a little bit of a caramelization right on the surface. We know asparagus is about 75% done. Now, this one being a little thicker may take a little bit longer than others, but it's okay. And then we'll throw in the tomato. The steam from the asparagus as it's cooking will also help cook the tomatoes. Tomato does take a lot of salt. As you may know from cooking pasta, when I first learned how to make a pasta, I never thought I had to put that much salt. I'm like, that's too much salt. I said, no, tomato eats all that salt flavor. So. And tomato is done when the skin starts to blister and start to peel back out. And that's how I want my asparagus, still green with a little sear mark on it. All right, heat off, and we're gonna let the residual heat from the plate actually do the final cooking. So you may ask, oh, well, now we're down to our final course on the entree. How should we plate it? On the entree, how should we plate it? Well, I call it simple is best. Okay, I mean, you could get, I think get some nice sauces on there. Well, sorry, we show the kids. You are eating this at home, and as long as it looks nice and simple, we all win, right?
So no paintbrushes needed.
No, not today. At the restaurant, we may do that and sprinkle a little bit of pepper. Right, right. Yeah, but we're trying to have a real no nonsense cooking. Exactly. So I like to have 5 asparagus right there. I'm gonna let the tomato go a little bit longer.
That smells good.
Now, do pardon me, our AC is hitting our steak as cooking, so you might get a little bit of cooler temp, but you'll excuse us on that.
You imagine this at home?
Sorry?
I can't imagine eating this at home. So
Why not?
we will.
I said we're Sunday night at my house, Joe.
We have to have a dinner night on Wednesday night, so this is gonna be the expectation.
I mean, there's nothing to it really, to be honest. I mean, there's nothing complicated
Yeah.
on this whole prep. So let's see. Let's try to get some of that butter. So that little butter that we mounted, that will be the actual sauce. Because a really good steak don't need sauce. They just need a little bit of that beef.
No Heinz 57.
No, no A1 sauce, none of that. But really, there we go. Just simple entree. I'm gonna keep this in the warming drawer, and then we'll jump into the dessert.
Very good.
Old Pat had messed up the start.
I jumped into a dessert once. Nobody really liked me being in.
Oh,
Just a little simple scoop of ice cream. And what you're gonna do is have a nice heaping scoop of a cherry.
St. Breeze.
And that juice. That's it. That's all there is to it. I promised you at the beginning of the filming, nothing complicated. I mean, I'm showing you the easiest method on cooking salad, easiest method on cooking a dessert, easiest method on doing a steak dish. Super easy stuff. I mean, it's so easy. We actually do cook this particular dish at home a lot with our children because it's just so easy to do. And there's not a whole lot of things that we need to prepare because, again, the main ingredient is so easy.
Simple, fresh ingredients.
plus when you were two rambunctious boys.
Oh, absolutely. They love it. And of course, they love the ice cream part the most.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. That's what we got. If you want to have a little bit of a bite of the salad.
You want our professional opinions?
No, I mean, just, you're not gonna say much anyway. You'll be eating.
Yeah, we quit talking, but we, man, this is awesome.
Again, that's the salad that we did. Once it meets with the cheese and, vegetable, the initial tartness and a bite that you remember just eating the dressing alone does get mellowed out. So, that's the beauty of it. When you do this kind of cooking, you try to kind of remember what the end result has to be. Got different, vibrant color, texture, it just makes the salad so different.
Flavors are just amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, let's kind of dig into the
No, that's
steak
very
part.
good.
Do you like it more rare or
I'm feeling pretty rare.
it's pretty rare? That will be a lot more rare than this one, looking at it because, again, the height. So one of the things that you have to know, of course, the thinner steak will cook a lot longer, and a thicker steak will cook, a lot, less. So this is one of those things. Asparagus. has a nice-
Asparagus,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
So in my house, beer gets really rare when my daughter can barely cook, and then my mom's on the other side, so I am the.
Hmm.
Can you see that?
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
This one's pretty.
Just a little bit more medium on it with a thickness on it. So do you get that flavor infusion from the butter and the thyme and a
You
garlic.
do not need any.
You don't need salt. You
No.
don't. You don't. There's a plenty of seasoning on it.
There's an abundance of flavor.
The, really can taste the butter and the garlic and the meat.
Yeah.
And I can smell the rosemary
Yeah. I mean, thyme.
every time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a fun way to do it. And you could actually pluck out a little close of a roasted garlic out of it. And then you can smear it on the steak if you want.
I feel bad, I.
It's all good.
Pretty good.
They're cooking their own. And then we'll move on to the dessert.
That garlic's so sweet.
Yeah, once it's cooked down, it really has a different characteristics on it. You know, raw garlic has a lot of heat, but when you cook a garlic, it sweetens, which is mind-boggling. Same thing with the onion; it makes you cry when you're chopping it up. But once you start cooking it, it becomes sweet as can. So.
Now,
Amazing what buttering can do with onions and garlic.
I don't care, but we might have a few people that do. This is probably not on a low-calorie diet, but.
This is what we call magic calorie.
Could you do
It's
this
a
with
magic
yogurt?
You could do yogurt, or you could do sorbet if you want it. Definitely a lemon sorbet is a possibility with a cherry on it, or you can just have the drunken cherry by itself. But again, it's a recipe is all about having an inspiration. You know, whenever I was first learning, I read through the cookbook and I'm like, okay, is that exactly how it tastes in a restaurant? No, not necessarily. It's sort of a benchmark. It kind of gives you a general idea how to do things, because then from there you need to add your own. So what I show you today is how I do things. Is that right? No, it's just different. But different doesn't mean it's wrong. You just got to find a way to do your style.
Just have fun, experiment a little bit.
Absolutely. That's the joy of cooking.
And if you make a mistake, just fix it different next time.
Throw it away and do it again.
Those cherries are so
I know.
good.
What I'm trying to learn, and it's hard to do it here, is as I get older, I need to eat less to eat better. More flavor, and then, we talk about, sometimes it's so expensive to eat something. This is not over here.
No, it's not. We had a sort of the costing out where, for 2 meals, it's not going to cost you more than $50 to buy all these ingredients. And good thing about these cherry, you can get this thing done up to 7 days ahead.
Yeah.
Because nothing's going to go bad with the
Keep it in the
wine and the
refrigerator.
sugar. Exactly. You keep it in the refrigerator. It actually tastes best on the second and third day because it really melts into it. So that was about 30 minutes, 40 minutes of, cooking. And, that flavor really just kind of bloomed. But if we would have done that, a couple days ahead, it would have been even better.
This was wonderful. I had a good time. Thankful to Extraco for allowing us to do this. Gerald and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a
And
great
I
time.
very much appreciate you and your
Thank you.
talents and your
Thank you.
generosity.
So,
It was
Thank you.
beautiful.
It was an honor. I appreciate. Thank you so much, and it was a great honor to serve Extraco family. And thank you so much for taking care of our local community and business. So keep doing your amazing job.
We had fun doing it.
well, and everybody's gonna wanna go, how come Gerald and John got to do that?
If you're cool.
We won a major award.
Well, thank you again for having me here.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, sir. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.